Alright, with the factory completed, we can move on to the city. And the city's got some groovy music. Like I said previously, the first episode, or the first stage, the factory music wears on me a little bit after so long. The city music does too, but to a much lesser extent. It's got a bit more of a jazzy feel to it. It's a little smoother, and I feel like it's more easy listening. So, this is where we'll be for a good while. And the other thing that helps with Stage 2 is because it's split into two separate, distinct areas, you actually get two separate soundtracks per area. So, you know, one spot you may get a little tired of, you can go down to the sewers and check things out down there, scavenge a little bit. It's nice. I think, even though some of the room designs are a little too wide open, and maybe a little samey after a while, there's not a huge room pool for the city. I've heard people mention, you know, in critique of the second area, and I agree with it to some extent. But what I do like is that they are kind of balancing two areas together, so, you know, if you don't like one, you can always pop into the other, and that's actually the thing, is that the sewers are very condensed, and like very small rooms, a lot of hallways, and a lot more like the factory, whereas the city changes things up by being more wide open, you know, kind of exploring, platforming, that sort of thing. So, right here, I'm just stopping here to show off. I can't quite get enough height. I can stick onto the wall like that. You saw I got caught for a second. But I can't get high enough, so what we do, we go into Hearts upgrades, just a little higher. And this is something neat, is that these upgrades do actually make a significant difference depending on where you are in the game. So we got just enough extra height to make this jump up here, and now we can check out that loot that we got, the induction shield, which I haven't actually gotten before, I don't think. Ooh, okay. So it seems like something you can charge and then smack enemies with, do electrical damage maybe. Just kind of a back-off tactic thing. Also, just so it doesn't seem like I didn't notice it, I wanted to point this out. Got a little Majora's Mask reference right there. Got a little tiny Mona Lisa. Fun stuff like that. And this one, that kind of looks like very, very artifacty, pixelized Last Supper. So, of course, you got the question mark block. There's a lot of little nods and references. If there's one thing this game is overflowing with, it's a lot of personality. You see, you even have a little Triforce wallpaper here. They really poured a lot of love into this game, and that's why through all of the flaws that it has, you know, being an early access #1, it's understandable they're still working through the bugs and all that, but they really cared about this project, and they did a lot with a little, you know, in terms of their Kickstarter. It's impressive what they managed to do here, and I have to give them props for that. Not only for, you know, just being kind of a ray of hope in what I found to be a little bit disappointing in terms of, you know, recent Kickstarters. I won't get into, you know, Mighty No. 9, that sort of thing. Big discussion about that, because we've heard it before, or most likely you have, but I don't know, it feels good. Even though it's not as refined or, you know, as AAA quality as other games. Even I'd say Mighty No. 9 has had more stability when I played it. I heard my friend had a lot more technical issues with it than I did. But I didn't have a lot of technical issues with that game. The issues I had were all like flow and mechanical, and like the actual feel of the game just felt off, you know. Whereas this game, even though it does have issues with this stuff, the biggest sin I think that Mighty No. 9 made, and I said I wasn't gonna get into this, now I'm getting into it. It was an okay game. It was kind of mediocre, and for $4 million kind of budget that they raised, like crowdfunded off of faith of people really loving, you know, the series that game was supposed to be following up, it was I don't know, it just left a bad taste in your mouth. At least it did for me and a lot of people. Meanwhile, Heart&Slash, you know, not too many preconceptions. I think this is really the first major for-profit kind of project that the developers have done. I think the main developer is a teacher at DigiPen somewhere. I don't know the full story on it, so I don't have a really good reference on it, but there's just so much, you know, so much goodness in this game, so many good intentions that are followed up on, and, you know, that's something I really love about it. It doesn't feel cardboardy, it doesn't feel kind of like, alright, here you go, here's our Kickstarter game. It's like, alright, we made the thing we wanted to make, and it came out pretty good, check it out. And you check it out, it's like, holy crap, this is better than what I thought I was gonna get going into it, you know? I mean, I thought I was gonna get a cool hack-and-slash roguelike game, and I got a cool hack-and-slash roguelike game with a ridiculous amount of unlockables. Oh, that's funny. You know, multiple playable characters which change up your playstyle. Just insane amounts of things, you know? I wasn't expecting when I got this game I was gonna be able to pull out a shotgun and start blasting away enemies that way. Like, there are a lot of cool little things like that. Or like, there's one chest piece you can get, you shoot a cannonball out of your chest cavity. There's one headpiece that lets you shoot a giant, like, particle cannon out of your face. There's a jetpack in this game. There's a freaking jetpack in this game. There's legs that let you jump off walls infinitely, which gets ridiculously overpowered. There's so much stuff, and just so much fun, silly stuff that maybe breaks the game a little bit, like that wall jump thing I mentioned. In this city level, you can pretty much jump all the way up past the point you're even supposed to be able to jump past, like to the limits of the level. Of course, there's a sky boundary that you can't go past, so you can't jump out of the world, but stuff like that is just really fun. And, you know, all the extra features that they managed to cram into this game, it's impressive. So, what I was mentioning before, though, when that wave of enemies started and immediately cleared, that center turret was going to put up a force field, and we would have had to kill all the other enemies in order to deactivate it and kill the final thing and clear that wave. But because we killed it so early before the force field could come up, it just went straight to clearing that section, which is kind of fun. Saves us a little time, and just funny. We kind of beat the game to the punch on that. But yeah, I don't even know how intentional things like that are. It's a little thing. It's such a small thing that even if unintentionally, it's not really something you need to get rid of. It's kind of a fun little feature, even. You know. And I guess that's the thing, is the game takes its failures very much in earnest. It feels like the issues with the game like don't outshine the really, really good parts. And where it succeeds, you know, amazingly well. And I can say this a million ways, but I'll leave it at that. Basically, game's not perfect. I like the game still. I like it a lot. But I don't like these armored enemies so much. They take a million years to pry the armor off of. And I actually haven't fought many of them with the Gatling gun combo before. It doesn't do that much damage, really, as you can see, but it's just getting to be kind of a pain, because he tracks you very quickly. So trying to get to his back and tear off the armor is a pain, and it's a lot of hubbub over a couple enemies. Still, we got him. And like you see, this thing is ridiculous. I'm considering getting rid of the Morning Star just so we maybe have a little bit more variety in the combat style. Got rid of my other weapons, so we don't have a lot of options currently other than the shotgun, maybe. Speaking of which, let's finish this off, and then combat shotgun. We'll do that for now. So let's keep going through the city for now, and then we'll start exploring the underside. But yeah, we got at least this room over here that I'd like to check out. Okay, this one's pretty easy. This is a wide open space, so we can kind of make our way around. It's only that one. Usually I find like 2 different items in here, but what is this? Mecha ETM suit? Sweet. Camera action. What the hell? Oh, what is that? I haven't gotten this before, so I have no idea what that's doing. Let me take a look at the description, see if it says anything. Mobile suit missile countermeasures. So I'm guessing that's, if anything's within that bubble range, then we shoot missiles at enemies? I don't know. It said something about faster hacking. That's what I was mentioning about sometimes the descriptions for different weapons and items could be a little bit vague. You really just have to experiment and find out. Like, that weapon I was describing that shoots a giant laser cannon out of your face, that I remember, I don't recall it having any description that it's going to shoot a giant laser out of your face, and I didn't even know the input to do it. You actually hit, it said the camera action button. Camera action is R3, which, depending on the item, I don't know, it's kind of funky. Like, they actually have a headpiece. I think it's the rocket cam. And the rocket cam, if you hit R3, or I'm playing on PS4 controller right now, so whatever the equivalent is for you. But if I hit R3, it actually gives you a lock-on feature, which is kind of a weird thing to only apply to a single item. I'm so used to, you know, Dark Souls just having that as a given. It's not really necessary for this game, but I kind of like having the option, just if you want to focus on one guy and they're moving around a lot. Some enemies really do. Like, there are dogs that just dash and dodge every single attack, and being able to track them helps a lot. But I guess, you know, in this case it is almost a luxury, or gives you at most an advantage against certain situations like that, so it's not a big deal. It doesn't lose much for, you know, not being an inherent feature. But I guess I'm used to having a lock-on, if you have a lock-on, just always being there. It's kind of a funny thing to be like a reward or a treasure to find as you explore. By that same coin, though, I mean, I'm almost happy they do it that way. Maybe not for that particular case, because, again, you know, feeling trained like that is always kind of just a given thing that you're going to have. If a game is going to have lock-on, it's just going to have it, because it's usually an inherent mechanic. But, you know, other stuff is a lot more fun. Like, the particle cannon is a ranged weapon that actually gives you first-person view as you aim. So like you aim through the reticle and you actually line up your shots and shoot your enemies through the eyes of Heart, which is kind of neat. Like, there's no other item in the game that does that, and I like that in a roguelike. Being able to find a weapon that completely, you know, kind of defies the standard kind of look or feel of most of the other items in the game. Like, the Morning Star is, for instance, kind of your basic hammer weapon. It does have the unique attack. You see occasionally I'm hitting strong attack in the air and it shoots this little kind of explosive shot to the ground. So that's one unique thing about this weapon, for instance. But you get like the particle cannon or lots of different ones. You have, you know, kind of fist type weapons. You have hand blades. You have kind of a brass knuckle type weapon, boxing gloves. One of the strongest weapons of the game actually is the training. I think it's 7-day training weights. And the gimmick with that weapon, I kind of hate trying to get these worm guys out of the ground. They don't stay out for long. They can be a little bit hard to catch while they're out because they don't stay out very long after they've done their attacks. So I think it's worse with a slow weapon also, is what's not helping. Let's try this out. Oh, did that stun him? I don't know, but he kind of just hung around there so I could smack him, so... Anyways. Yeah, I was talking about the 7-day training weights. So they start out a little bit slow, not that amazing on damage, but the more you use them, the 7-day training weights actually... they actually level up. So they have a ludicrous value for how much you have to spend to upgrade them. Like, I think it's 10 or something, some crazy amount per upgrade, and there's 3 upgrades for the training weights. But if you just beat up enemies with them and you stick with it, it becomes one of the most devastating melee weapons in the game. And it's a lot of fun to use, because it gets really fast, it hits really hard, and just... That weapon is a blast. That's one of the best ones, I think, in general. Usually if I find that, it's just the run is assured. I'm done. I win. And I don't know. Usually you do want a little bit of struggle in a given playthrough of a roguelike, but I think it's also important that you feel good while you're playing it. You don't always want to be struggling. And I think this game sets a pretty decent balance. I gotta say, I do kind of enjoy the ambience of this in-between subway area. It's a little creepy, the lighting and everything. The awkward silence, the music just cutting out when you enter that room is another thing, but I still like the overall effect. So, oh shoot. Yeah, those little guys come in a variety of different flavors. That one we just got hit by was essentially suicide bombing us. You can tell they flash red and just come at you, and I usually don't see them in time, or I'm in the middle of an animation that I just smack right into them, or figure I'm gonna get hit anyways, I may as well beat them to the punch, but there we go. Got him. Good. So let's upgrade a little further with what we've got now. Let's upgrade this the rest of the way. Morningstar is going to be good to do that with. And this thing, I'm not going to mess with that for right now. Oh, let's do this. Let's do just, sorry, I'm adjusting my position, but we'll do that, and oh yeah, the cop set is very powerful, but takes a lot of upgrade points to get through. So we'll do 2 points in that, just to see what happens with it. Okay. A lot of dead ends in the sewer right now. Let's head the other way, and hopefully it'll expand a little bit more. I'll try playing with the shotgun exclusively for a little bit. Ow. So you can see even the shotgun is pretty devastating with the right upgrades. And that's why like a lot, or most of really of what you find in the game becomes feasible the more you play. Here we go. We've got a nice look here. Got a kind of a Gundam businessman look. Let me see what this does. Never stumble from enemy attacks. So that's like a super armor thing, I guess. Hold so you never stumble from enemy attacks. I'm not sure. I think this one, the 1% pants, the more upgrade points you have, the faster you run, but usually don't have that much of an issue. Yeah, accumulate XP to boost your performance, faster you move. Doesn't matter so much to me. I think generally, running speed never feels like an issue in this game. For how big the game world is, it's really saved a lot by the fact that Heart just blasts through levels. And actually something I don't use enough, but something that is a feature if you're just running through levels. I forgot about this completely, but I rediscovered it like last playthrough and haven't actually been trying it out for this current one. But see right here, if you hold the left and right shoulder buttons, you just go into a mad sprint, and it just goes on for as long as you hold the buttons down. So if you're ever trying to backtrack a lot, that does come in handy just to shorten the travel time. But I mean, Heart runs so fast, regardless of what you're doing. The game never feels slow, and that's what I love. It keeps the pace up. Some roguelikes for me get a little bit slow after you've played them so many hours or so many times, but this one has really kept up the excitement factor for me, I think, really well. I think they did a nice job with the pacing, with the combat. I mean, things used to feel pretty kind of stop and go, especially with combat. I couldn't get through the first area because it just felt like you weren't equipped right, you know, or there was just kind of a subtle feel to it. You know, the game hasn't changed extraordinarily since then, but has changed just enough that, you know, in all the right areas that it feels very different from it did back then. And I guess that's the thing, is like the devil is in the details. You know, tiny things can totally change the quality of a game. You know, even if it's just quality of life stuff, if you're going to be playing a game for so long. Oh boy. Yeah, we're doing this. So we're going to do a little weapon change here. We're going to trash the Morning Star, I'm sorry to say. But we just got one of the craziest weapons in the game. This is your Buster Sword. This is your Final Fantasy VII big-ass slab of metal swords. So we're going to have a good time with that. I foresee. Let me see. Do we have enough to upgrade it now? We'll just sharpen it, and then we'll work on that other upgrade as soon as we can. But yeah. So you see, the sewer right now for us is mostly providing, you know, some extra items, some equipment, that sort of thing, and more enemies to fight for more upgrade points. But you know, if you actually fight Frankie, the boss, the alternate boss that we didn't fight in the factory area, you start in the sewers. So that's the difference between, you know, that's why which one you fight kind of matters to where you're gonna end up next. Fighting Badass Knight will take you straight to the city, whereas fighting Frankie will take you to the sewers. I tend to prefer starting in the city because I feel like, oh no, stuck in a corner. I feel like that happens a lot. I think that's something they still have to work out a little bit, is the collision. You get stuck on a lot of walls just kind of falling forever. But what was I saying about the sewers? About whatever. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. That happens to me a lot. I'm terrible with that stuff. Nonetheless, can I make it up here? No, I'm not having any luck. Alright, doesn't matter. We can still send the tree. Maybe get a look at what's up there. I don't really know. But so this tree is actually where part of the quest line with Slash, or a good portion of it, comes into play. What's this over here? Cop is also robot. That's true. I guess. Oh, that's a little Lion King reference? Simba. I never noticed that before. But yeah, there's little random nods to things just everywhere in this game, and I kind of enjoy it. It's like a I don't know what to call it. It's like those old I Spy books, or is that what they were called? I don't remember. It was kind of like those games you always see. There's a lot of like find the object games, but there was a series of books I haven't thought about in years. This just now made me think of it, but that's too funny. Yeah, it is really weird to go from that bombastic music to just complete silence. Here we go. So I was talking about those legs that make you jump infinitely off of walls. We just found them. So let's see. Nothing else to get here. But we can go down to the sewers. Let's explore the other room in the city before we do so. Oops, that's the wrong one. Oh, perfect opportunity to show it off. Or, I guess I already jump high enough, but... So this is what the sticky legs do. They make kind of a gross noise when you jump off of walls. But then from there, you kind of just get this insane amount of height. That's actually as high as we can go here, but there are sections of certain levels where you can just keep climbing almost indefinitely until you hit the very top of the city, like those lines of it. Let's try here actually. This is such a funny thing. Like it doesn't break the game because by nature hack and slash isn't so much going to be about the platforming as it is about the yeah, here you go. So we're pretty high above. We're like hitting the edge of the altitude of the buildings there, but yeah, it doesn't get in the way of, fighting things or anything like that. It's just some silly extra thing that you can do with an item. At the very most, it makes it makes exploring more convenient, because for those big platforming sections, which the city is very, very apt to give you, especially when you're trying to find, new gear and all that sort of thing. It's nice to have something that just allows you to kind of go past finding the right path, because occasionally it can be a little bit difficult to find, where do I go, how do I get to, wherever the heck that next item is. Like if you have to reach the tops of the buildings, sometimes you really have to do some fiddling around to find, what foothold leads to the next and that sort of thing. Cool. Got badass arms. These give you insanely large arms, but I think the effect is the more enemies you have around you, yeah, you hit harder. So this is very useful to have. This is a really solid one. In general, I think the badass set gives you a lot of really nice effects, depending on, if there are more enemies around you. So it's kind of like, the more chaotic the game gets, the better you're gonna do, because you're just gonna be cutting through everything like it's nothing. And this is what I was talking about. You can just straight up jump right into this building instead of having to go all the way around the corner to go through that entrance. Maybe a little bit overkill, but And here's Frankie legs. Got the Frankie legs. This is weird. Sometimes this happens. Actually, I don't know if it's gonna be permanent now that we have the legs, but yeah, it looks like it might be permanent. Sometimes animations do bug out. We might have that for the rest of the playthrough. So let's just get rid of that. I don't know, maybe it'll fix itself. I'm not holding out hope. I've had this a couple times, and this is, again, early access, one of the bugs that we're kind of... small bugs that we're dealing with right now. See, this sword is just incredible. And that's another something like very important and subtle about the game, and what really adds to its quality. I'm not a huge fan of the Dynasty Warrior games, and my friend Chris, he's a huge fan. I totally respect that. I think, like, for the right reasons, those can be really fun games. But something I always had trouble with was, even though you're cutting through thousands of dudes, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of impact to the combat. And it's kind of one of those games you can turn off and just enjoy at a very base level. They're fun, they're crazy, and the coolest thing I probably ever saw from one of those games is there's a guy who basically just surfs around on armies of dudes. Like, he just suddenly calls up waves and surfs. I don't know. I have no context, because I haven't played many of those games, but I remember seeing a video a long time ago where that happened. I was like, this makes me want to play this game a little bit more. But in the case of Heart&Slash and other hack and slash games that I'm a big fan of, Platinum Games does some really amazing ones. I haven't played their more recent ones, and I've heard that, like they did a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one. I heard somebody say it wasn't quite up to par. They've been doing a lot of smaller projects, maybe more rushed licensed stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Like, every Platinum Games game I've played has pretty much held up to a really amazing standard of quality. But with those games and with Heart&Slash, it's always about kind of how visceral and how hard-hitting the combat feels. And like everything in this game is very impactful. You know, feels just right. Maybe some of the bosses not so much. Like Frankie, he has 2 weak points, his left and right legs. If you smack them, it stuns him, but like when you're smacking them, every blow you put on them kind of glances off unless you're using certain weapons that just kind of ignore, you know, armor and stuff like that should make you bounce off of them. But for the most part, I love how we're just gliding on water right now. It's a good look. Smoke bracers. Oh, right. This one is if you stand still, you get like a little force field that appears. I don't know if it's invincibility or what. It actually, as soon as you dodge or try and become more, you know, maneuverable, it wears off. So I never used it to great effect, especially when you're in the middle of combat. You saw it takes a long time to charge, and you can upgrade it to shorten the charge time. But I never found it preferable to other arm gear like our badass knight stuff we got going on. Oh, just let those plant right in my face. If you saw right there, this guy has a Space Invader on his face. More fun little references everywhere you look. Let's see. Alright, so we're coming into kind of... everything's kind of headed up to this point. So we've got one more city section. I'm guessing the remainder of the sewer section now. So the last 2 remaining achievements I haven't quite gotten yet in this game. One is to complete the story, so we're guaranteed we're gonna get that in this playthrough. You know, as long as we finish successfully. I don't know what's gonna happen, but hopefully it'll go well. But the other one is called Bad Puppy, and it's involved with unlocking the one remaining unlockable character other than Slash, which is the way that you unlock it is you have to kill 20 of each dog's parts. So I think what that means, and we have the boss room up here, what that means is you have to kill 20 of each type of dog loadout. So like enemies in this game, you've probably noticed, have different tools to them. Some of the flying guys have lasers, some of them have like, you know, lock on, target, then shoot. These little guys, some of them buff other enemies, like that guy was a medic, so he'll heal other enemies that you're fighting against. Some of them make them faster or invincible until you kill the small guy. Lots of different types of enemies, point I'm getting at. But with the dogs, there's the type of dog that shoots water at you. There's the type of dog that has poison. There's the type of dog that dashes and can dodge, you know, very quickly so that they're hard to hit. There's dogs with blades in their mouths. There's so many different types of dogs. But yeah, it's just a lot of dogs, and the game wants you to kill 20 of each type. And from what I've checked on the achievement, I have it like 7/8 done, so I don't know if that accounts for like how many dogs of each type I've killed, or I don't know what, but for the past 7 or 8 playthroughs, I've been killing as many dogs as I can find. And we just got a chainsaw. Oh boy. I've been taking down as many of the dog robots as I can find, and it just hasn't budged at all. So there must be one type of robot that I'm just having a really terrible time trying to find. So that's the one remaining thing that I've got to finish off right now. Other than that, I just have one more playthrough with Slash when I unlock him. Maybe I'll do that, I don't know. I read that that's kind of a hard mode for the game, which could be fun. And that's something nice. I kind of like that. You know, there's there's different characters with different playstyles, and the way that they approach gameplay makes... Oh, jeez. Oh, yeah, I forgot I can trivialize this room completely by doing this. I'll do it legitimately since we're already most of the way there, but... Yeah, if you break these platforms, they're down forever. So... One way you can continue up, even if you've lost those platforms, you can barely land on the tips of these. As you can see, they're very slippery, though. Trying to think which one's next. I think this one. So yeah, I didn't quite get that one, but basically you can climb up there and hopefully get a second chance if you didn't make it all the way to the top. Maybe you have an extra platform to hold out on, but in our case with the sticky legs, we kind of don't have to worry about it so much. Automatic gun. I haven't tried this one out in a long time. It's more of a kind of not spray and pray, but a lot more fast action than the other guns I usually get. I usually get the short guns, but I think this time I'll try out the automatic gun. Should be fun. Cover life by dismantling enemies. Those are kind of neat in concept, but them saying they make you weaker, I'm not sure if I'm too keen on. If you're taking more damage, you know. I don't know. Not that we're having a problem with that currently. I mean, jeez Louise, look at our health bar. But yeah. Just keep going on up forever. See? And now we get a much better view of the city. It's one of these big walker guys, yeah. This type will just spawn these dudes forever. This is actually really valuable. I'll probably have uploaded a video by now I did of the Ronin. Is it Ronin? I have no idea. I'm making a fool of myself right now. But in that playthrough, I used one of these guys, and I just had him constantly... You know, I kept killing the little guys, so he'd keep spawning them. And I got most of my health back from a very dire situation where I might have lost the run. It was on the last stage, the space elevator. And it was very satisfying to go from, you know, just about dead to rights to doing fairly well on my health because of that. And it is nice, you know, things like that. If you play your cards right and you keep your eye out for opportunities like that, even if the recycling system can fail you occasionally, there are other ways that you can get yourself on your way to victory. Pull a victory out the jaws of defeat, etc., etc. So let's see if we can find this right there. Smoke boots, ninja sidestep. Oh. Okay. That's an interesting noise. I'm gonna stick with the sticky legs. Yeah, the smoke boots basically, even if... I don't know, I think what I didn't like so much about them was that even if you're trying to dodge forward, it makes you backdash, kind of like Symphony of the Night sort of a deal. So I'll pass on that. I mean, Symphony of the Night works perfectly, but here I think if I want to dodge in a direction, I'm gonna dodge in that direction. The smoke set though is all about evasion, that sort of thing. There's another one that enables an air dodge, and you might have noticed we don't actually have an air dodge, so having that innately, or having that is a really nice thing. And actually, since I was just on the topic of the Ronin, I don't know. Since I was on the topic of that character, he actually comes packed with three different weapons and actually an air dash. So he's kind of an interesting playstyle. He's not quite like a hard or a very hard mode or anything like that, but he can't get any equipment. You know, he can't really recycle anything. I don't think he gets any armor or anything. Yeah, he doesn't get pickups. So you basically just have to get a bunch of upgrade points so that you get that excess upgrade healing effect, and just kind of hope you don't take too much damage over the course of your playthrough. How much is our max health? Is it like 20? I just was gonna point at that. I mean, it happened a long while ago, but since we've hit a certain max health... What's that over there? Is that the outline? I think that's the outline of one of the rooms, or maybe the bottom box that you're not supposed to be able to see. I don't know. But yeah, it's cool to have, like, you know, a static setup to the game that you just play with this one character. He was pretty difficult to play as because his weapons are this quick draw katana type weapon where the recovery is very slow, but the weapons hurt very, you know, they hit very hard. I don't know though. I wasn't the biggest fan compared to just playing as Heart, but it was a nice change of pace. Oh, if we get rid of the Terminus Est, we can cannot move so wacky. We can get our fancy footwork back. I actually think that might be worth doing. I don't know. You guys, yeah. I'd like to be able to see myself walking. And you got a good look at the Terminus Est. It's ridiculous. If you do that other upgrade, it just sweeps the floor with everything more than it already was. And it already was very well, so. But yeah, so Robnin gets 3 of those katanas, though, the quick draw katanas. He gets a normal one, an ice one, and a fire one. Each one of them has some distinct moves that they can do. The ice one has a really cool move where he throws the whole sword, and the enemy that it hits, he just teleports to and does a follow-up slash. So he's very stylish, and he's fun to play. Like, it's just cool that they put in a lot of extra features like that. The other playable characters, one is a prototype version of Heart, and basically it's like a challenge mode. So if you find the game too easy playing with Heart, and you can see it's fairly easy to snowball into just this unstoppable creature, especially with the setup we have right now. You know, it's nice to have an option that is a little more, you know, a little tougher start. You can still get ridiculously powerful as prototype Heart, but it's fun to try the game out with him. And the way you unlock that actually is there's a tutorial for the game. You might have seen when we were starting up. I decided not to go through because it's pretty slow and everything is pretty easy to explain as you play. At least, you know, since I'm doing this with commentary. But if you beat Slash during the tutorial, which is what, you know, you're not really meant to do. It's kind of like Demon Souls killing the Vanguard. You're not supposed to, but if you do, you get a little bonus. In this case, if you beat Slash in the tutorial, you unlock Prototype Heart as a playable character, which is kind of neat. You know, it's cool to be rewarded for something like that right in the tutorial level. So, what else though? So Slash I can't speak to because I haven't played him. The other, like I said, he's kind of stayed to be the hard mode character. I think similarly to Robnin, he doesn't get any item drops, and he has like a set starting weapon, kind of I think he has like a meat cleaver or like a chain sword sort of looking thing. But the other character I think is a dog, which is why it's related to the Bad Puppy achievement, killing all these dog type enemies. I don't know anything about him, if he gets unique weapons or if he's just like Blade Wolf and Metal Gear Rising or something. I actually wouldn't mind that. That would be pretty awesome. But I'm looking forward to figuring out what the deal is with that. So we've been fiddling around in this area for long enough. Let's see. Let's get out of here. So if we head over this way, we can go to one boss. And this is what I was mentioning before, is there are multiple, you know, bosses you can select from depending on what kind of level structure you get from the game's RNG. But if we go in there, we go up an elevator to the city top, like the top of a skyscraper in the city, and we fight Lieutenant Colonel Copgore, I think his name is. And Copgore isn't bad, but I don't like his fight nearly as much as Herbie, who's the one we're gonna fight in the sewers. Oops. went to the same place. I gotta find my way out of here. Not so great with the navigation right now. Here we go. This is where we want to be. But yeah, Copgore is pretty much a waiting game. He spawns enemies and shoots bullets at you and little missiles. Basically, all you're waiting for is every couple seconds, every cycle or so, he shoots a large missile, and that's the moment that you wanna take advantage of, because you want to you want to hit the missile as it's coming at you. And if you've seen, I don't know if I've hit any back, but anytime you hit a missile, it flies back at the one who initially sent it at you. So it's just kind of a game of hitting his missiles back at him, waiting, fighting enemies, and it's a little boring. Herbie, by comparison, is still a little slow and formulaic, but you'll see here. The other thing is I love Herbie's intro. Herbie's just really freaking cool. So we've basically got a giant, like, Shai-Hulud sandworm, sort of a sewer worm thing. It's the Scavenger Queen, as that one set describes. So yeah, Herbie initially summons these waves of enemies. Doesn't sound too different from what I described of Copgore, but the difference here is just this boss is more strictly kind of puzzle based, and it's a lot more consistent with how you fight it. It's a little less reaction or like reflex heavy. It's more waiting for this certain moment. You'll see shortly, I think right here, yep. So they dash at you, hit the wall, get stunned, and that's where you go in here. And Herbie is actually a repurposed subway train. So you actually go in through the body, which is made out of subway carts. You can see all the seats and everything. And you just smack it to death. Or you smack each cart to explode the segments of its body. And that's how you can tell your progress in the fight, is how many segments are left. I think it's a really cleverly designed boss fight. The game, I'll admit, does struggle a little bit with bosses. They're not, super engaging in terms of the actual combat mechanics, but the mechanics, while fun, are pretty simplistic. Like, they're very accessible, so I think it's almost better they have more of a puzzle approach with this sort of thing. It's not a bad thing at all. But just by preference, I tend to like fighting Herbie better than Copgore. Because Copgore spends so much time out of your range. At least you are always kind of keeping a watch on Herbie, making progress. I also like that they make kind of this circle that you have to fight through. They just whip around you while enemies spawn right here. I think it's a lot more interesting, because in Copgore's case, he just sits there. He just sits there, out of range, flying over the building, and kind of waits, or occasionally does a volley of missiles at you, which, I don't know. I like this better, because since Herbie tracks you, you can get enemies to get caught on Herbie's body and just start taking damage, so Herbie almost does the fight for you. It's gimmicky, but it's interesting. It's entertaining. This move, though, is a little bit of a waiting game. You kind of just wait for it to end. So we've gotten a very interesting heart this playthrough. We've got business suit, big bulky badass arms, and a mecha head. It's not the heart I remember. There we go. I think I took a hit there, but it's okay. Alright. So that's that. That is the end of this area. I'm gonna upgrade the rest of what we have. Let's just call it that we have, everything we need pretty much at this point. And, oh, okay, we only have 2 left there, so I guess we don't have enough for all these, but that's not as important. In fact, I'm gonna get rid of, as much as I like it, the Gundam helmet. I don't know. I want to be able to see Heart, so stick with that. We'll keep the suit on. Oh, we did get rid of, did get rid of the 1% pants. Got the sticky legs now. Even though the last level is very vertical, I think I might get rid of these. I'll hold on to them. They could come in handy. You'll see why. But yeah, we'll do that. Because if this is going to be our main weapon, we should definitely upgrade it in preparation for the final level. So, yeah, we'll continue with the final level now.